Good morning, you guys, and happy Monday. Thank you all so much for joining me. It is time to talk about something that for a lot of people is off the cuff. For a lot of people, we steer away from this conversation. And for a lot of people going through something like this, it seems to be that there's not a lot of help, there's not a lot of support, and you feel like you're trapped in this isolating place and that you'll never get out of it. And I'm here to tell you that that couldn't be further from the truth as someone who has overcome this. And so I just want to talk about it, provide some tips, and then start the conversation so that more people feel like they can reach out and more people feel like they can overcome this and that they're not going to be stuck with this forever. So we are talking all things binge eating, and I think it's the perfect time because it's a Monday morning. And so I know when I was struggling with binge eating, it was always the weekend. It was Friday night, it was all day Saturday night, all day Sunday, right up until that time where I knew my week was about to return to, I guess you could say, the normal. And that's where I would then, start to scale things back, start to eat what would my body like knows what to do with, and just it was a vicious cycle that I kept going on. And so I really want to talk about it on a Monday morning because I think it's very it's present for people. And one of the tips that I have, so the first tip about overcoming and dealing with the binge eating disorder is that forgiveness piece. And so that really comes into place like right now. And so the past is in the past. There is nothing that you can do to change what has happened. And so I think when I was trying to really overcome this disorder, when I was really like focused on moving past this because I didn't want it to be the rest of my life, the biggest thing and the hardest thing for me was that forgiveness piece. I would beat myself up. I would make every like possible scenario to justify my decisions, and then I would also spend the whole next week doing things to punish myself because of the binge that I'd been on. And so I think it's really important to start with that. And I know it can be a really difficult thing to do because we often can forgive everybody else. We can often give compliments to other people out there. And then when it comes to ourselves, we're really hard on ourselves. We're hard with the negative self-talk that goes on. And so I think that that forgiveness piece is one of the hardest things to develop, but it's just about being kind to yourself. And so what I like to do is let people know to picture you're in front of a mirror or you're sitting in front of your best friend and they're talking to you the way that you're talking to yourself. It's probably not what you would say to them if they said to you, hey, look, on Saturday night, I opened the fridge and I ate pretty much everything in there and I just couldn't stop. And I got into this state where all the food just, I was craving it. And then I had a big tub of ice cream and then I went back for more. And then I had a chocolate bar and then I had some chips and then I had to balance it out with something savory. These are the habits that I was stuck in when I was binge eating, and it would just the next morning, the guilt that would hit me was overwhelming. And so when I started going through some exercises where I would, pretend it was a friend that I was speaking to, I was much more kind to that person than I was being on myself. So I want you guys to start with that. If this is something that you maybe struggle with, or maybe you know somebody who is struggling with this, feel free to share this video with them. And I really hope that's helpful. But that forgiveness piece is really important. And I would say it's the first thing to do before you worry about anything else. That forgiveness and being kind to yourself and realizing that the past has happened, there's nothing you can do to change it, and focusing forward, onwards and upwards is where you need to go. And just having some kindness in your heart for, you're a human being and this happened and it's unfortunate, but you are better than this. This does not define you and you can absolutely move past it. Okay, so the second thing that I would recommend, I think most people that I speak to are guilty of the same thing. I know it was a big struggle for me. I would binge and then I would starve myself. So again, it was this vicious cycle. But the best thing that you can do is waking up after a binge is get in a nourishing meal. So think about something that your body wants. So some protein, some healthy fats, some sort of complex carbohydrate. It doesn't have to be really complicated. And I know that your stomach might be hurting a little bit. You might be feeling sluggish and lethargic and just all around gross. I like to call it the food hangover. So you might be suffering from that. But just like when you drink too much alcohol and you have a hangover, and they talk about, maybe you should get a meal in, or there's certain foods that can help. But with this, it's just getting something to nourish your body, to reset, to get it back on track, and to start that metabolism working again. It does no good to just starve yourself and put your bodies through such extremes. So the binging and then the starvation, it's actually quite dangerous. So I really recommend getting something nutritious in your body, even if it has to be some sort of shake that you make. Just like ground up some vegetables, put some almond milk or something in there, and you know what, like, it'll help reset your mind, it'll help reset your body. And I really just hope that you can understand that the starving is not something that's going to help you long term. It actually can be the cause of why some of these binges happen, when you're deprived and when you feel like you're not getting enough. Okay, so another tip that I have for you is get moving. So there's a big difference here between exercising as a form of punishment, and there's a huge difference between moving just because you want to feel that sweat, you want to remind yourself that you are an active, strong person. And so I really encourage you to have that distinguishing, distinguishing plan laid out, and really try and avoid exercising from a point of guilt, and to try and undo what you've done in the past, and to try and, counter the binge that you've just had. Really try and pick an exercise or pick some sort of workout or something that makes you feel really good. And this is what I want you to focus on here, because when we can start our next day with something that nourishes our body, and then when we can also get in some movement that makes us happy, we're going to instantly feel more energized. We're going to have a positive outlook on things. And I find a lot of the people that I've helped through these binge eating disorders, they actually start to forget about all of the guilt and all of the feelings and thoughts that they were having around the binge once they do these two things. It's a way to just like quickly reset, quickly re-trigger things, and just really focusing on the future and your goals and your plans when it comes to health and wellness. And so starting your day with that nutritious meal or snack or whatever that looks like, and then also just like sweating it out, remembering why you do this, remembering why you love that feeling of that healthy lifestyle. And I find those two things are really beneficial for you when you've got this guilt going on. You just can be all day in this pity party if you allow it to happen. And it's time that you just get up, get moving, even if that means just going for a walk to clear your head, switch off from technology. So there's lots of things around the getting moving component of this, but the main thing is to make sure you're distinguishing in not exercising for punishment, but you're exercising or moving for enjoyment and for those good feelings and to release those endorphins. Okay, something that's really important too is talk to somebody. You don't have to be alone in this. I think for years, one of the biggest things that I did when I was struggling with this binge eating disorder is I kept it to myself. I would hide and eat, and Kelsey, my fiance, she knew what was going on. And there was a time period where we didn't really talk about it because it was just, I was sort of in this dangerous state, I think, where she wasn't sure how to help. And the food was just getting out of control. And because it was happening just on the weekends, it was like, it's easy enough to think like, oh, she's totally fine because she eats super clean during the week, and on the weekends she lets loose. So it's easy to sort of create these stories in our head. And I think I was really good at getting that across to people. I think I was really good at hiding it, and I think I was really good at making it seem like I had it all figured out. But I cannot stress to you enough, talk to somebody about it, and also be careful who you're talking to about it. So picture somebody who has either had the results that you want, so somebody that's overcome the disorder. Reach out to them. I'm sure that they'd be more than happy if they're sharing anywhere online to actually talk to somebody about it that's going through it, because that's really fulfilling when you can help people that are maybe where you used to be. That's why I talk about these things, because I reached out to people when I was going through it, and they were very helpful to me. They were giving me tips, they were giving me advice, they were doing Facebook Live videos like this, and I was tuning in and day by day getting better and better. And so I think it's important to pick and choose who you're taking your advice from, and make sure that it's someone who actually, has some quality behind the advice that they're giving you. And that can be really different than just talking to your parents about it who maybe are judging, or talking to your partner about it who doesn't quite understand. So talk to somebody, but have a think about before you just open your mouth up and start explaining what's going on. Maybe consider who you're talking to and potentially reaching out to somebody who has been there, done that, had the results that you're after, which is probably overcoming this eating disorder. And so that would be my recommendation there. But you don't need to go it alone. You don't need to hold it in. And the best thing that I did was talk to somebody about it. Okay, so the final thing that I'll leave you guys with is learning from it, growing from it. So we can really beat ourselves up, and we can sit there and just be like full of guilt, full of shame, and all of these sorts of things. Or what I would like to recommend and encourage you to do is learn from it, grow from it. Take 10 minutes while you're drinking your nutritious smoothie. I hope you see what I did there. Take 10 minutes to grab a piece of paper and just start writing down some feelings, writing down what's going on through your head, writing down maybe why you think it happened. Was it triggered by some sort of event in your life? And so when we can learn and grow and evolve day by day, like I was saying, it gets easier and it gets better and it gets more manageable. We can't expect to, I think this is where I was really guilty, is I was thinking that I'd be able to go from these like severe, intense binges to just being completely not like away from them and completely like free from the binge and not thinking about it, not obsessing over the food. I was trying to go from like 0 to hero. And what I realized is that I just needed to take some steps in the right direction. I needed to learn, I needed to grow. And it was a compound effect of all of those things that now means that I don't struggle with binge eating anymore. There's some things in that learning process that you can just decide and figure out about yourself, whether it's a lack in your diet for something and that's triggering the binge. Maybe it's something in your life that's toxic that needs to get the cut, and that would be triggering the binge. So there are things that you'll learn from and grow from, but spending time being sorry for yourself and spending time, guilting and shaming yourself, there's no sort of development there. There's nothing that you can learn from and grow from. So let's shift that energy, let's shift that attention into something that you can use for the next time and learn from it and grow from it. And day by day, as you get better, as you get stronger, as you surround yourself with people who have overcome this, you will find that you too will join them. You will be able to overcome it. And I say that from a place of just like pure raw honesty, because I remember thinking I was different. I remember thinking I would never overcome this, and that there was something wrong with me and I was broken and this was going to be my life forever. And it's really hard to see anything outside of that when you're in it. So if you are, reach out to somebody, talk to them, but just know from someone that has been through it, it is not a forever thing. You can overcome it. And it's just about taking the steps to make that happen and being open to what's going to come, and maybe going through some uncomfortable times. But I can guarantee you it's a hell of a lot better when you come out the other side, and when this doesn't control you anymore, you'll be thankful that you went through those uncomfortable times. So that is it, you guys. It is Monday, one of my favorite days of the week, and I just thought it was really timely to talk about it, because often it's the weekend where we come unstuck, we maybe have a bit of a binge and overindulgence, whatever that looks like to you, and it's just about, instead of the shame, instead of the guilt, let's switch that around. Let's focus forward on where we're going. You have a whole beautiful week ahead of you to make progress. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.